In this demo project, I will be teaching you guys how to deploy a static website using Nginx. The project overview is we're going to set up a secure static website using Nginx, AWS Route 53, EC2 instance, and Certbot. And the prerequisite for this video is you need an AWS account. We're going to be deploying all these infrastructures in AWS, so you need an AWS account, and you also need a domain name. Now, you can have your domain name in any of those domain registrar. It can be GoDaddy, it can be Namecheap, it can be AWS Route 53, but I will recommend Route 53 to make it more easier and also for you to follow along with the demo. So in this demo, I already have a domain name bought in AWS. So that step is going to be very, very fast because I already have a domain name. So I just need to create a record and then we are good to go. So that's it for the project. So also what you're going to learn from this video or from this demo tutorial is you're going to understand how to host static content using Nginx as a web server running on EC2 instances. And also, we're also going to understand how to configure DNS routing using AWS Route 53. And also, we're going to also learn how to secure our website using HTTPS by using Certbot for TLS and SSL certificate issuance from Let's Encrypt. And also, that's what you're going to learn from here. And so this is how the project step is going to flow. So firstly, we're going to buy a domain name. Obviously, I already have a domain name, so this step is going to be very fast. Secondly, we're going to launch EC2 instances, which are going to be our servers. And once we have the EC2 instance launched, we're going to SSH into those servers, and also we're going to install Nginx. Then after that, we are going to download a static website files from a popular website known as toolplate.com. Obviously, we're not going to be writing the application code for the website, so we just need something to get started. We just need to download the HTML, CSS, JavaScript file from those templates website. Then after that, we're going to copy the content into the Nginx folder so we can let Nginx serve our content, which is our website that we've downloaded, because obviously by default Nginx serves its own default content. So we're going to override that with the one we just downloaded. And also we're going to test our website to see if it's accessible. We're going to be using elastic IP address. I'm going to explain why we need elastic IP address. Just stay with me for a moment. And we're going to configure Route 53 to point to the elastic IP address. Also, we're going to test for DNS resolution. And also, we're going to install Certbot and also request for free SSL and TLS certificate from Let's Encrypt. And lastly, we're going to validate the setup to see if everything is working as expected. So if you are excited for this project, you want to learn, you are curious to know how this project is going to turn out to, please hit the subscribe button, follow me, and share with somebody who is going to find this video useful. Without wasting much of your time, let's dive straight into it. I am logged into my AWS account, and the first thing we need to do is we need to set up Route 53. Like I said earlier, I already have a DNS record, I already have a domain name that is already deployed on Route 53. So that part is going to be very fast. So let's just go to Route 53, click on Route 53, and I'm going to come here, click on hosted zone. And if you come here, I already have a hosted zone, which is Barillon.com. So you're just going to click on it. Let's click on it. And then we're going to see the configuration. Now, what is Route 53? So Route 53 is a DNS service offered by AWS. It is a global resilient service. So what Route 53 does is that, it helps to resolve domain name to IP address. So it is just like a DNS service, but this is exclusively for AWS. So if you want to buy a domain name, you want to customize, you want your website to have a domain name instead of an IP address, then you can come to Route 53, you can purchase a domain, and then you can create a hosted zone from that domain. So this is exactly what I've just done. I have everything set up. I have barrylon.com set up here. So I'm going to deploy my website and I'm going to point it to barrylon.com, or I'm going to point it to a subdomain of barrylon.com. So without wasting much time, let's head over to EC2. So come here, search for EC2, which is going to be our server where we're going to be deploying our application to. So here, click on EC2. So we have EC2 running here. What is an EC2? So EC2 instance is, is like a server. It's like a virtual server, hosted on AWS data center. So it's just like you having a physical server, but this one is a virtual server that is running on AWS data center. So this is what we're going to be using for this project. So when you come here, click on instances, and it's going to take you to this bar. Then click on launch instances. Then here we're going to call our instance, which is our server. Let's call it a name. We're going to give it a name. Let's give it web server, which is good. And also scroll down, and then we're going to choose what operating system that we want to install on this server. Ideally, let's go for Ubuntu. We're going to be using Ubuntu for this demo tutorial. So click on Ubuntu, and then you scroll down here, leave this as it is, leave the AMI, and make sure you are seeing free tier eligible here, because if you use an AMI that is not free tier eligible, you're going to get charged. So for the case of this demo, you can leave it, but if you think you are able to spend a little money, then you can use something else. But in case of this demo, follow along, use the free tier, then scroll down to the bottom. So this is where we're going to choose our instance type. So we have T2 Nano, T2 Micro, T2 Small. For this video, let's go with T2 Medium, because Nginx is a powerful web server, and if you go with this, it might be very, very slow. So let's go with T2 Medium. So click on T2 Medium and scroll down. We need a key pair. Now, what is a key pair? A key pair is just like your private key and your public key. Now, when you deploy a server, you need a way to log into that server. And the way for you to do this is by using SSH authentication. Now, what happened behind the scene is that you have a public key that you need to place on the server, and then you need a private key locally on your computer. Now, what happened is that when you try to connect to that server, your private key must match the public key that is placed on that server. Only on that condition will you be granted authentication. So we're going to click here and we're going to select our key. Now, in the case of this video, I already have two keys already on my local computer. So I'm going to choose one of them. But in your case, if you don't have any key, click on create key pair, enter the name of the key here, and then click on create key pair. Now, if you click on this button, it's going to download your key pair into your local computer. Now, take note of that particular file or that particular PEM file that you've downloaded into your computer. Now, I don't want you to get confused, so let me just do this and make it easier for you. So I'm going to call it, let's call it web, or let's call it web key. Let's call it web key. And then I'm going to click create key pair. So as you can see, it automatically downloaded the key into my local computer. So yes, after that, scroll down to the network setting and click on edit. So we don't have any VPC, any custom VPC deployed on my AWS account. So I'm going to go with the default one. So click on the default one and click on subnet. You can deploy on any subnet you want. I'm just going to deploy it on US East 1A. So let's click on that. Then also we're going to click on assign public IP. Let's click on enable. And also let's scroll down to this point where it says firewall rule or security group. Now, what is a firewall rule? Firewall rule is a boundary around your server. Now, it gives you the opportunity for you to, specify what traffic goes into your server and what traffic is allowed to come out of your server. So it's just like you placing, a wall around your server and then specifying who can bypass that wall into your server. So that's what it means exactly. So we're going to click on, let's click on create security group. Obviously, let's give it a name. Let's call it our web server SG. And then web server SG, let's scroll down. Let's copy this over, copy. And, oops, sorry, let's do that again. Web server SG. Let's call it web server SG. Now let's copy. I'm gonna copy it and paste it here as well. Gonna paste it here, and then come to this button. Now this is where we need to specify the rules. Now we need SSH, which is how we're going to log in into this server. So we're going to specify SSH, which runs on port 22. And then we're going to select the source type. What source type do we want? Now, for security reasons, let's allow only traffic from our IP. So click on my IP, and then it's going to display your IP here. Now, this is my IP. In your case, it's going to be different. So description, you can leave this, but you can also just add SSH from admin, just to give you something, meaningful and all of that. So leave it as it is. Scroll down to configure storage. We're going to leave it as it is, the default storage, which is GP3. Let's leave it like that. Scroll down. And then I think that's all. This is just like a basic EC2 configuration. Then click on launch instance. Now wait for some few minutes and you should have your instance up and running. So it takes you to this a nice little page. Click on the instance type, the instance ID, and it's going to take you here. So this is our server which is running. Ooh, congratulations. Now what this means is that you now have a server that is running somewhere that you can deploy your application. This is so awesome. This is why the cloud is so beautiful. Now you get to deploy something as fast as possible. So here's it. So now let's click on our web server. Let's observe some few things. So if you come here to the details, you're going to see the public IP of your server, which is running. And also you can also see the private IP address also running here. And you can see running state, it is running, public DNS, everything is well configured. We also have, if you come over here as well, come to security, you're going to see the security group, the one we created that is attached to this EC2 instance. And then if you come to your networking, you can see that this particular server is deployed in a specific availability zone. Remember, an EC2 instance can only be deployed in one availability zone. So you can think of availability zone as a data center. If you have a region of a data center, an availability zone is just, group of data centers that forms a region. So that's what it means. So we have our EC2 instance, everything is running. Now, let's connect to our server and install Nginx, which we are going to use for this project. So let's come here, click on connect, and we're going to connect to Nginx. So let's click on SSH client. Now we have 4 ways we can connect. You can use EC2 instance connect, you can use session manager connect, you can use SSH client connect, you can use this, but we are going to use SSH, which is, I think, it is the industrial standard for logging into a server. So we're going to use SSH client. So now, if you are in macOS, you need to launch your terminal. Now, your terminal is the CLI, the command line interface with which you use to interact with your remote servers. So I'm going to launch it. So I'm going to launch my terminal. So I've got my terminal here somewhere. So I'm going to pull it over here. So before then, to make it very clear for you to see, I'm going to go to a dark screen so you can see it clearly. Click here, and then we have our terminal here. So let's expand it a little bit. I'm going to expand it. So I'm going to clear the screen. So I'm in my terminal. So let's go back to our instance to get the IP address. So let's go back. We need the IP address for the EC2 instance. We're going to click here to copy the IP address. Then let's head over to our terminal. So click on here. So we have our terminal here. Let's clear the screen. Let's get to work. So let's clear the screen. We are currently in my home directory. So we need to locate the key pair. Now, the key pair is the key we downloaded during the EC2 instance creation. So we need that key, that private key, in order for us to log in into the server. And it is downloaded into this folder. So if you come here, click on and go to the downloads folder here. Then if you want to see it, let's see LTRO. And here we're going to see it at the bottom, which is the last one, which is web key here at the bottom. This is the key we downloaded. And now let's clear the screen. So first of all, if we try to log in like that, it's going to throw us an error. Let's try. So let's go. So if we try, let's see SSH-I followed by the key name, which is webkey.pem, and followed by the user. The default user that comes with an Ubuntu machine, Ubuntu EC2 instance in AWS is called Ubuntu, so we need that. Then at then followed by the IP address. So this is how you log in into a remote server. So now the command is SSH followed by -I. So -I is telling you to specify the key name, which is the private key, the corresponding private key for the public key that is placed on the EC2 instance. So this is the public key, this is the private key, and this is it, web key this. And then we also need the server address. So this is the username, the default username of the server, the default user, and also this is the server IP address. Now if you hit enter, it's going to throw us an error. Let's see. Now, asking us, are you sure you want to continue connecting? Let's say yes. Yeah. Now, it's throwing us an error because the private key, which is the one we downloaded, has too much permission. It has a permission of 644. Now, in order for this to work, we need to change the permission to read only for only the user that owns the private key. So for us to do that, we're going to use a command known as chmod. So we're going to try chmod, followed by the permission we want to grant, which is 400, which is going to grant read-only access to the private key, followed by the key name. So it's going to be web key. Web key dot pem. Then hit enter. Then let's try to reconnect again. We should be able to work. Now, boom, we are in. Now, this is our server. So if you look at it very well, it has changed to a different IP address. Now, if you go back to my local machine, you can see that, and my local machine is showing my name, my full name here, but this is not what we want. Now, if we go back again, I will log in. We can see that we are in a different terminal, which is Ubuntu followed by the IP address. So if you look at this IP address, you're going to realize that this is the private IP address of the EC2 instance. Now let's go back to our AWS account. So if you go back to AWS account, you realize that number or that IP address matches what you can see here, which therefore means that is our private IP address. So let's go back to our terminal. So yeah, we are there. Now let's do one thing to make it, let's change the IP address to something useful. Now let's change our host name. Let's say host name. Let's use sudo, because we need privilege for that. Then we'll do host name, ctl set host name. Sorry. Followed by the name. Let's call it web server. And so let's call it web server. And for this to take effect, we need to log out and re-log in. So let's log out. For you to log out, you need to type exit to log out and then re-log in again to see. Then as you can see, we have the web server here, which is web server. Good. Now we are logged into our server, which is good. Now let's install Nginx. But before we do that, let's update our server. So for you to do that, you need to run sudo apt update. So essentially what this is going to do is that it's going to install your package repository. Now for every operating system, they have, like a repository where they download their softwares from. So we need to update it because we need to update it in order for us to be able to pull recent software package. So that has been updated, and now let's install Nginx. Now for us to install Nginx, we need to run, use sudo apt install Nginx. Yeah. So let's install Nginx. Yeah. Let's install Nginx. Cool. So that was really, really fast. So we have Nginx up and running. And in order for us to confirm that Nginx is running, let's check using our systemd. So we're going to run system ctl status Nginx and hit enter. As you can see, Nginx is running. If you look at the service, it's showing active. It is active and running, and it started 90 seconds ago. And then you can see the logs. Everything is going well. So Nginx is running. So let's exit. You can use Control-C to exit. Then let's clear our screen. Now we have Nginx installed. Now by default, like I said earlier, Nginx has its own default, website or web page, as the case may, whatever you call it. Now let's see if we can access the Nginx web page. Now let's go to our browser, exit the shell. Don't exit it, I mean just minimize it and come here, grab the public IP of your server and come to a fresh page. Paste the IP address, then followed by port 80, then hit enter. Now this is not going to work because our security group only allowed access from our IP over SSH. Now let's go back to our instance. Now this is our instance profile. Let's go back to instance and click on our instance. Then go back to security, click on the security group. Then we're going to add an additional rule. Now that rule we're going to add is going to allow access, over port 80, which is the default HTTP port. So we're going to search for port HTTP, click on HTTP, and we're going to accept from our IP. So let's come here, let's see from our IP because we want to access it by ourselves. But since it's a website, we want our customer to use it. So let's just make it public. Let's say anywhere IPv4. So this is going to grant it public access. So let's save the rule and let's go back and refresh and see if we have Nginx. Cool. So as you can see, we have Nginx deployed. So what is happening is that Nginx is serving its own web content, and we don't want this. We want our own website to be deployed, which is good. Now let's go back. Now there are some interesting things I want you to know. I just want you to understand that now Nginx has a default location where it serves website content from. Now that default location is located at, let's go to cd/var/www/html. Now if you enter and you run ls, you're going to see this default file here. And if you cat, to see the content, you're going to see that it is exactly what we see on the browser. So if you come here and hit enter, and you're going to see that, you're going to see welcome to Nginx. If you see this page, it means that Nginx is successfully deployed. So if you come here as well, you're also going to see similar thing, but this is just in an HTML format. So this is what we are going to do. Now we are going to override whatever this content is in the www.html. We're going to override it to our own website. This is what we're going to be doing in this demo. Now let's clear our screen. And now, how do we get our website content? Now there's a very nice website where I go to whenever I need website template and all of that. So let's go to twoplate.com. When you come here, you're going to see a lot of website template that you can download and customize for your own use. And they are very, very flexible. You can edit them, you can customize them, whatever you want to do. And let's go with this one, which is like a cafe, barista cafe. So this is a very pretty nice website, and this is what we're going to be using, and we're going to customize it, for our own use. Now, if you come here, scroll to the bottom, this is where we're going to download it. You're going to click on this download, but before then, right click on your browser and click on inspect. When you click on inspect, click on, this double arrow here, click on it, and then click on network. When you click on network, sorry, that didn't work. So click on network. When you click on network, you're going to see this page here. Essentially, what this is doing is showing you, real-time, access, how this page is being, loaded. Obviously, the web page is making requests to a server to get some documents, and then, display them on your web browser. So you don't need to know much about those things, but just have it in the back of your mind that it's just request. As you can see 200 status reports, which means that the requests are successful. But what we are concerned about is what we want to do. So once we are here, scroll to the bottom and click on download. When you click on download, you're gonna see it at the bottom here. Oh, it's very fast, so you need to be very, very fast. So let's scroll up. Let's look for it. So here, like this, make sure you are here. Then right click on it and click on copy, and then click on copy URL. Now, essentially, we are copying the zip file of what we've just downloaded. Now, this part is a very tricky one. If you are not able to get it, then don't worry. I'm going to leave the link to the zip file on the, the link on the YouTube video. So you can just go there, click on the link, and then download it, to get started. So let's head over back to our terminal. Come back to the terminal here, and let's go back to our home directory, and then let's use wget. Wget is a Linux command that helps you to download content from the internet. Then hit enter. So this is going to download the zip file for the static website. Cool. Now if you run ls, you're going to see it here. It is in a zip format. Now let's unzip it to see the content. For us to do that, we need a utility known as unzip in order for us to unzip that. So we're going to install unzip. So we're going to be sudo install unzip. In some Linux distribution, this comes pre-installed, but in Ubuntu somehow it doesn't come pre-installed, so we need to install it. Sudo apt install apt install, then hit enter. So yeah, that was very fast. So we've got it has been installed. Let's clear our screen. Now let's unzip it to see the content. So I'm going to double click on copy, and then let's do unzip, followed by, now let's hit enter, and that was fast. So let's clear the screen again, and let's do LX. So from here we can see it has been unzipped. Now this is the cafe. Now if we check the content, let's list what is inside. Let's hit enter. As you can see, we have the CSS, we have the fonts, we have the image, we have the index.html, which is like the landing page for the website. We have the JavaScript file. We have another page here, and also we also have video. Now we want Nginx to serve this content, assuming this is our static website, that we want to deploy. Now, for us to do this, we need to copy this into the previous path that Nginx is serving its content from. Now, for us to do that, so let's copy this and move it to that path. So we're going to do CP, and then we're going to put the hyphen arrow, because when you want to copy a file, it's different from when you want to copy a folder. When you want to copy a folder, you need to specify the hyphen arrow. So we're going to do that. So let's do CP copy, then followed by this. We want to copy that, the content in it. So we're going to hit enter, then followed by star, which means that we want to copy everything inside that folder. We want to copy it to var www, followed by HTML. We're going to copy it here. So we're going to copy it here. And before we do that, I think there's something we need to do for this to be effective. So let's terminate what we want to do. Firstly, let's remove the default content in that place, in that path. So let's go. So here we're going to remove the default content. So we're going to do remove, followed by arrow, and then click on enter. So because that path is in the root directory, so we need to add sudo to be able to do any operation. So we're going to run sudo and hit enter. So that's done successfully. Now let's go back again to the command. Let's copy everything down here, right click and hit enter. So let's go. Oh, we need to add sudo. Yeah, we need to add sudo to it because we are copying into a root. So run sudo and hit enter. So it says there's no such file or directory, which is weird. And let's see what's going on. Okay. So it happens that I mistakenly deleted the that particular folder. So I've just created the directory. So let's go back to the command again and go back to the command and copy. So that worked. So we successfully copied everything into the default Nginx path where it saves web content. So if we go to that path and run LX in that path and hit enter, we're going to see that everything is here. Now, in order for this to work, we need to restart Nginx ideally, but I think with the recent release of Nginx, you can actually go back to your browser and you will to see that this has been updated. So if you go back to your browser again, come here and let's grab our IP address. Let's go back and grab the IP address. Go back to our EC2 instance and grab the public IP address. Grab it and on the browser, paste it here and hit enter. So as you can see, we have our website successfully deployed. So this is our website live and direct, which is cool, really, really cool. Now, we don't want our website to be accessed using this IP address. Obviously, you don't want to give this IP address to your customer. we want them to access it using a nice, domain name. Let's say Barrister. So in order for us to map this IP address to a domain name, we're going to use another service in AWS known as AWS Route 53. So let's go back, and on the search bar, type Route 53. Then come here, and we're going to click on the hosted zone. Now, make sure that you've already have a domain name in Route 53. If you don't have one, please, you can buy one from Route 53 if you want, because in our subsequent videos, we're going to be using it, as this is just the first video just to get you guys started. So click on here, and let's click on create record. So we're going to call it Barrister, the one we copied. Oh, sorry. I'm going to copy, let's call it Barrister, or let's call it Cafe to make it more sensible. So Cafe. It's going to be cafe.barrelon.com, because Barrelon is the domain name and Cafe is a subdomain. So we're going to call it Cafe, and then we're going to paste the IP address, the public IP address. Now, mind you, we are still using the default IP address. We are not using the elastic IP address. So what this means is that if by the time you shut down your EC2 instance and you bring it back on, the IP address is going to change, because it's not an elastic IP, so it's going to change. So let's use this one first. So let's click on create record. Now our record has been created successfully. So let's scroll down here and copy hotel on barrelon.com, and let's go back. Instead of using the IP address, let's paste our domain name here. Click and paste and hit enter. Yeah. So as you can see, it says it works. Ooh. That is very strange. So I think we grabbed the wrong IP address. So let's go back to copy the cafe at barrelon.com. So let's come here and, paste it and hit enter. Boom. So as you can see, we created a record that maps a domain name to an IP address. So this is a very, very good hands-on. So successfully, you've learned, how to deploy a static website using Nginx. There are other more things that you need to learn. Now, this has been deployed, but we need an optimization again. Now, as you can see here that it says not secured, which is not good. Now, imagine giving this domain to your customer, and then when they enter this and they see something like this, that this website is not secure, what do you think will happen? They will feel less confident, to make any transaction in this website. And because of that, let's get rid of this not secure and make our website more secured. And for us to do that, we're going to be using HTTPS instead of HTTP, which is an insecure protocol. Now, in order for us to do that, let's head over to our Nginx. Let's go back to our server, and let's head over to our server. Now, let's go to the default Nginx. Let's go back to the Nginx configuration file. So it's located as, let's go to cd/etc/nginx. So if you come here to LX, you're going to see different folder here. The one we are most concerned about is site enabled. Click on site enabled. So site enabled is just the list of websites that you want to enable for Nginx to serve. So if you go to that directory and do LX, now you're going to see the default Nginx configuration file, which is where Nginx looks at to check which content you need to save, which is located here. So if you do cat and see, or let's do VIM to see the content. Yeah. So if you come here, you will see that Nginx, this is the configuration. So Nginx is listening at port 80, and then whatever it gets here it goes to this route var www.html to serve that content. Now, which is nice. So it therefore means that we can actually override this to another location in our server and allow Nginx to serve that content, but we're just going to leave it like this. So in this demo, let's scroll up. Let's adjust the configuration. So we're going to listen at this point, and we're going to change it to our server domain name. So let's get rid of that. And let's put our, our cafe.barrylon.com. And yeah, cool. So we have that. And let's change that as well for IPv6. Let's do cafe.barrylon.com. So we have that, which is cool, and you don't need to mind, don't need to, all those configurations, you don't need them. So let's scroll down. Yep. So everything looks good. Yep. Server name. Yeah. So it's listening at port 80 on that port. So everything looks good. Let's go back and restart Nginx. Oh, I forgot. So we need to add sudo because this file we are editing is not, it's a root, it's a folder located in the root directory. So all our changes is not going to be saved. So let's quit. Q followed by this. Let's quit. And then let's re-enter. So what we're going to do is that let's not edit the default Nginx file. Let's create our own file to make it more cleaner and more easy for us to understand how the configuration file works. So let's go back to, let's come here and do LX. So if we go back here and run LX, let's go to site available. So let's copy that. Let's go to site available, and this is where we're going to create our own configuration file. So let's call it, let's do cafe, and this is where we're going to write our configuration file. So let's get started. So the first thing we need is a server block by Nginx. If everything here seems somehow confusing, you can simply look it up on Google. You can search for Nginx configuration file for saving web content. It's very easy to understand. Actually, you can just search it on Google, or you can use ChatGPT to explain it more better for you. So you come here and type server, which is gonna our file. So let's do that, and cool. So once we have our server block, we're gonna specify where our server is going to be listening. So we're gonna write listen. It's listening at, let's say, port 80. It's listening at port 80. Then put our semicolon, and then let's type the server name. The server name is going to be cafe.barrylon.com, and then let's add the semicolon and hit enter. And then where is the file located? The static file that Nginx is going to be saving. So let's type root, and it's going to be located as /var/www/html. And what is the index file? Sorry, we need to add column here. What is the index file? Index file is just simply the default page that is going to be displaying. So index, we're going to call it index.html. Yeah, index.html. Then put our semicolon again and hit enter. So the location basically this is just like if you are looking for a wrong location, what is going to display. We just want a nice display here to tell us what we are missing. So let's do try files, followed by this. URI, which is the URI, so followed by URI. .404. So if you're accessing a path that is not registered here, it's going to throw you 404 error. That's it. So this is a very basic configuration file by Nginx. So it is very, very, minimum version. So that's all we need for now. So let's exit. Let's exit. Oh, we forgot to add sudo again. So we're just going to copy everything. So forgot to add sudo. So let's go back and add sudo this time. So let's do sudo vim followed by that. Sorry guys, it's kind of annoying. So I'm just going to paste it. Just paste it here. And then let's change the domain to our domain name. So that's that. So let's quit and save. That worked. And then we need to create a symlink. Let's create a symlink. Now, what this symlink is going to do is that it's going to bind whatever we have here, which is on the site available, which is our cafe, is going to create a symlink that is going to link it to the site enabled. So whatever we specify here on the cafe is automatically replicated in this directory, in this particular file folder, because this is where Nginx is looking at to serve. This is the configuration Nginx is going to look at in order for it to locate which files it needs to save. So so what is going to happen is that Nginx is going to look at this part, and this part is going to show that configuration, and that configuration points to var www.html. So let's create the link, hit enter. That has been created successfully, and Nginx is now saving our content. But before then, let's verify if our configuration is working. So let's do sudo nginx -t and hit enter. So as you can see, our syntax is okay. Everything looks good. So yeah, let's kick off. Let's crack on. So yeah. So let's reload Nginx. We need to reload Nginx for Nginx to pick up those configurations. So let's reload Nginx and hit enter. So that's good. So let's go back to our browser and refresh to see if that's still working. Ooh, 404, not fun. Interesting. Now, what is happening? Let's go back to our server. And let's see what's happening. Let's go back to the site. Let's go back to site enabled. And let's see what's in there. So we have our cafe there. So why is it not working? Let's go back again. Let's do sudo vim followed by cafe. Let's see what's happening. So it's listing on port 80. So we have cafe.barrylon.com. Oh, I think I found the problem, the issue. So this needs to be changed. This is wrong. Let's get rid of that. So it should be HTML. Yeah. So yeah. Let's try again. Let's restart Nginx. And then let's see if that is going to work. Let's refresh again. Yep, so that worked. So our website is on, but let's get rid of HTTP and use HTTPS. In order for us to do that, we need to install Certbot. Now, Certbot is it is a utility, or it is a software that enables us to configure Nginx to use TLS and SSL certificates for HTTPS. Now let's install that. So let's install Certbot. So let's run sudo apt install Certbot. So this is the name, Certbot. We're going to install that. And also we also need Python 3. You need Python 3 Certbot. So this is what is going to interact to create the CLS certificate. And Certbot Nginx followed by -i, y. So what this y means is that we don't need to type yes during the installation. It's going to install everything at once. So hit enter. So that's going to install everything. And so everything is installed. We now have Certbot running. Now let's clear our screen and let's run Certbot. Let's run Certbot followed by -nginx. Now what this command is going to do is that it's going to look through Nginx configuration file and configure HTTPS. It's going to detect the HTTP. It's going to detect the Nginx config file, and it's going to install. It's going to enable HTTPS. So let's hit enter. Wait for a second. It's going to throw us an error. Set permission. We need to add sudo. Cool. So let's go back. First of all, let's go back to our root directory, and then let's rerun the command. But this time, let's use sudo, because it's going to try to access some part that is exclusively for root user, but we need to access that part. So we need to elevate our permission. So let's hit enter. So yeah, we need an email address for the SSL certificate. So I'm just going to add so we're going to add Babylon official.com. I mean, you can just add like a dummy email. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. So at gmail.com. Hit enter, and let's say yes. Hit enter, request certificate. Let's see if that certificate is going to be issued. It's going to take some few minutes to request and validate the certificate. So let's see. Cool, certificate successfully deployed. So our certificate has been issued. Cool. Now we have our TLS certificate issued. Now let's go back and see. Let's go back to the site enabled. We're going to see that something interesting has happened to our configuration file. So let's cd into that path, and let's do ls. Let's clear our screen first to make it a little bit nice. Let's do ls and go back to our cafe. Yeah. So as you can see, Certbot automatically reconfigured our Nginx configuration file. So it's now installed, managed by Certbot. As you can see, we have our SSL certificate placed at this directory. We also have the certificate and key, and also some other stuff that needs to, be configured. And also it also configured redirect. So someone tries to access our website using HTTP, is going to redirect that person to use HTTPS, which is cool. So we have everything settled. So let's quit. We're not going to change anything here, just to queue and leave. Then let's, restart Nginx. So let's restart Nginx. So it's going to be system, CTL, restart, and Nginx. Oh shit, we need to add sudo. So we need to add sudo and hit enter. Yeah. So now let's go back to our website to see if that has been configured. So let's refresh. So it's gonna take some few minutes to get that working. So what we can do is let's copy this and go to another browser and see if we have HTTPS already. So let's hit enter. Now if we hit enter, as you can see, we are getting an error that says site cannot be reached. Now the reason is because, let's go back to our security group in our instance type. Let's go back and let's add another rule, which is going to allow HTTPS. Remember, we only allowed HTTP. Now let's add HTTPS for that. So go back to HTTPS, and then from anywhere, and then save rule, and then let's go back and refresh. Yes, congratulations guys, you've just made it. Now this is a real world how applications are being deployed. So as you can see, it's now deployed using HTTPS, and the error that says connection is insecure is now showing connection is secure. So yeah, this is a nice well done project. So if you've made it up to this, if you've made it this far, congratulations. And you just have to go through the project once again and understand every part of the project. Now this is a very basic project, but it's going to teach you something. It's going to teach you how to deploy a website, how to deploy static website on a server. Now this is just a basic project, and in our next video we're going to learn how to containerize this website. So we're going to deploy it as a Docker image, as a Docker container, and run it on our server. I think that approach is way more modular, more flexible, and in our subsequent video we can now integrate it using CI/CD pipelines to deploy this project. So guys, if you are excited, please do well to subscribe, like, and also share with somebody who needs this project. But before we go, let's destroy our infrastructure so we don't get billed for what we are not actually using. So let's go back to our EC2 instance, click on dashboard, click on EC2 instance, and then click here and click, go back, click on instance state and click on terminate or delete instance, then click on terminate. Now this is going to shut down the instance so we don't get billed for what we don't use. So guys, this is the end of the demo. Please, if you find it very, very useful, please subscribe, share, and also leave a comment. If anything is not clear, you can leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video to the end. It means a lot to me. Thank you and have a lovely day.